It is 6 o'clock. I will call this Utility Commission organizational meeting to order. Roll has been taken. Need a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion by Ross, second by Dave to approve the agenda. Any questions? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Public appearances. Any comments? Moving on, election officers. Commission President, I will turn the chair over to Mr. Caniff.
Okay, nominations are open for the President of the Juneau Utility Commission. Is there any nominations?
Nominate Mac.
I second that.
Okay. Motion by Art, second by Rotten. All in favor signify by saying aye. Wait a minute, I gotta ask for more nominations. Okay. Is there any other nominations? Is there any other nominations? Is there any other nominations? Okay. Motion was by Bart, second by Rotten. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I abstain. How's that?
Okay, Mr. President. we can have a-
Okay, all right. Now we need to elect a secretary, vice president. Nominations are now open.
I'll nominate Ross. Caniff.
Did more than one.
Does anybody want to second that motion?
I'll second it.
Motion by Dick, second by Bart to nominate Ross. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Okay. Motion by Dick Evans, and second by Bart Coons to nominate for Vice President Ross Caniff. Any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Thanks.
Oh. All right, so set date and time for next, Ross is the re-elected, but he was the incumbent. Set date and time for meetings, monthly utility commission meeting. Want them at 6 or 6:30 or 6:15? What is your pleasure?
6 is fine.
6 o'clock.
Okay.
3 o'clock. Perfect. I'll do 4.
We need a motion in that, or they remain the same?
Doesn't say.
No. Annual organizational meeting will be the first Monday in November at 6 o'clock with the utility meeting to follow. Is there anything else on that? Public presidential appointments of commissioners' committees, public works. Bart, you
Okay.
want this still, John?
I can still do that job.
Okay. Plan Commission, Mr. Caniff. Personnel Committee will be Bart, Ross, and myself. Director for WP Energy is myself. And alternate director will be Nick Ballman.
You should entertain a motion in a second to approve all that.
Okay. Need a motion to approve the appointments.
I'll make that a motion.
Motion by Bart,
Second.
second by Dave to approve the appointments. Any discussion? If If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Any old business? Any new business?
Second.
Motion by Ross, second by Bart to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. You should be.
We're good. Just back up.
Are we still on?
Yep, we're good.
Well, technically our utility meeting doesn't start until 6:15.
I'll shut that down.
For future reference, I should.
So here, fast.
All right, it is 6:15. I will call this meeting of the Juneau Utility Commission order. Roll has been taken. The motion to approve the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
Motion by Ross, second by Bart to approve the agenda. Any questions at all? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Minutes of the previous meetings.
I make the motion to approve them.
We have a motion.
I'll second it.
Second by Bart. Any questions or changes? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Public appearances. Terry, you're up
All
right
right.
off the bat.
Off the bat. So I have a project update. Pass them on. It's the same thing that go to Lori and Alex and I submitted a monthly project up, I guess it's a project update, I made it a project soon.
Here, I gave mine to Dan.
Oh, okay. I don't have just enough.
Well, right ahead.
Yeah. So I'm Sherry Scott, I'm the project manager out at the wastewater treatment plant site. I worked at MSA for about 6.5 years. Prior to that, I worked for a water and wastewater utility for about 6 years also, and then I worked at another consulting firm for about 10, doing water and wastewater work as well. Prior to that, I grew up in northeast Wisconsin on a small dairy farm, family-run dairy farm, and went to UW-Platteville for my engineering degree. So, just a little history about me, but on your overall project, there's been a lot of progress over the last several months. The compact plants are up and running, or one of the compact plant is up and running. The oxidation ditch is operating. They haven't completed the performance testing, the 30-day performance testing yet, but that's in the works. The other package plant and clarifier and sludge storage and digester are being worked on right now, getting ready to be started up over the next 30 days or so. The garage, I saw some pictures, they actually have windows in there.
Windows now, yeah.
Which seemed to
Finally.
take a little while, but they're in.
So it's actually sealed up now.
Keep the birds and everything out and the bugs, well,
What's left?
maybe not the bugs, but birds won't be making nests in there hopefully anymore. And then the structure 10, the admin building, they're working on there. They're doing the HVAC, roofing, all the electrical gear is getting replaced. We're working on the contractor to get us a schedule for when everything's gonna be started up. We have a project representative out on site for the most part almost every day, unless they aren't doing something that doesn't involve startup or buried work or, work that we need to be there, otherwise we're there for all that important stuff that can't wait, or they're, you know, they would say maybe we're holding them up for. So, so we have you can read all that, it goes into detail on what happened over the last month, what's to come, more startups, so it's gonna be important for Alex's team to be present at the site for, all the training, startup procedures, this is where they can get their training they need, ask the questions they have. They'll be given operation and maintenance manuals, and Kira's out there looking through and making sure they have all the pieces of information in there, that are needed, so that when everything's turned over to Alex and his team, he has everything
Knows what to do.
he needs, yeah. And so you'll use that for training future personnel too, so they're handy items. So one of the things, first package plant was started up already, so now you've gotten to operate it and maybe have a few more questions, so you get another round of training for the second package plant, so,
Sounds like that'll be next week.
yeah. I don't know if all of it's gonna be next
Some
week,
portions.
some portions are gonna start next week already, but you'll be able to, you know, if there's more questions, you get another chance to ask questions. And then a lot of this equipment has like I'd have to look in the spec what duration, most of the time it's about a 3-month or 6-month. 6 months out, we have that the vendor or manufacturers come back and do another follow-up visit, make sure everything's operating as intended, answer any questions that you and your team may have, and check in on their equipment and make sure it's working. And then they're painting too, so you can smell that.
Yeah.
It's going building.
Great for winter.
Yeah. Yeah, just unfortunately structure 10 was last just because MCCs took so long to get in. And then just as so this project had $3 million of principal forgiveness on it. Or $3 million, or not 3 million, $3 million and $3,019 or $19,000. So quite a bit of principal forgiveness. The loan also had a 5% contingency on it, and so you have about $662,000 of contingency on that loan remaining. That number does not include that natural gas line. I did get that invoice from you, Lori, thank you. DNR was gonna pay 20% of that. I think it was an $86,000 invoice-ish. 60, okay, less than I thought. So, that'll change this number by a little bit for what's remaining. But this is where, if there's something you need for the utility, the wastewater utility, you can add that in, and the DNR will pay for it. Like if there's a pump, or some people have gotten a jetter before for their collection system. So, something to think about. Substantial completion is not till March 1st.
So we'd have to take delivery on anything that we want before then.
No,
Just have to order.
yeah. The final completion is July 1st. So,
Sounds like people are using that trucks and
yeah,
other things.
we've had an excavator, to show that it was gonna be used for utility. So this one community, they couldn't show 100% was used for the wastewater portion, and some was gonna be used for water, so they were able to split, take that half and recover that half. Pumps, trash pumps, things that you end up needing to operate utility come in handy, so.
Dick, you look like you got a question.
No.
You had this look on your face, I thought there was a question there.
No, it's just the way I look.
And so Mac's been coming to the monthly progress meetings. We have monthly progress meetings with the contractor too. Alex is there obviously. Nick's there often.
I made one.
Yeah, I made one. He was welcome. join, I guess, probably though, if you have two, you gotta make it a meeting, so. Yeah, and then, change orders total $2,600 for the project, so less than 0.02% of the original project bid, so darn near perfect on a $13 million job. Doesn't usually happen that close at all. So, I mean, that's why there's a 5% contingency, typically they're 3 to 5% they amount to at the end.
Did they find some, did they clean up those walls yet, or did?
Yes, they did. That's been cleaned last week or the week before. And they installed the air conditioning units now too. They were gonna go on the outside of those walls, so it was critical that they got that cleaned up.
Okay.
Any questions?
When are these meetings?
Thursday mornings
The
at
third Thursday of the month
third Thursday of the month
at 10.
at 10 o'clock. Yeah, occasionally we gotta switch them. I think we're gonna have to switch the December one because I have a conflict at my kid's school for a Christmas program. That one ends up being the Thursday before Christmas break, so.
Happened last year too.
Yeah, that happened last year too. I don't know how that happened so perfectly, but we'll probably have to move it to the day before or the Thursday before. But Alex and Mac both have the schedule. If you're interested, reach out to them, or I can give you my business card too. I don't know, so I forget. Yeah. I can add him to the invite if I had his contact information. Okay. Any questions?
Don't hold back.
Yeah, we have no reason to believe the contractor's not gonna complete on time. Everything's showing that they're gonna complete on time,
We were
so.
concerned about putting in asphalt in spring,
Oh, yeah,
so.
that's right. I think we said we would rather them wait this winter anyway.
So it might not make it by substantial completion in March.
That's true. I forgot we talked about that last month.
I'd rather have more time to settle and get a better product.
That's what we agreed. It'd probably be beneficial if we were able to coordinate with them and work with them and let them
Instead
do
of
that.
rushing it in
Yeah.
before.
Otherwise, we would get some settling.
Better pace.
Yeah, let it go through a freeze thaw and settle nice, and they come back and then complete the asphalt. That'd be really all that we would let them write in the substantial. Yeah, probably some edging along the asphalt.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Sherry? If not, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
You're always welcome.
Yeah, we'll be here next month too.
Okay. Moving on. Approve the vouchers and the checks.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Bart to approve the vouchers and the checks.
Second.
Second by Ross. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Prior month income statements.
This is typical for this month for us, we have a high wholesale power costs always in the month, so. Go back to just gonna say.
I think I remember that from last year. That's why you didn't get a question.
Anybody have any questions on that? If not, moving on, council acts affecting the utility. Resolution 38, 2024, approve healthcare provider and employer contributions. Resolution 39, 2024, approve cost of living increase. Anybody have anything else to say on that? If not, consumption and loss. $9.6, Alex?
Not a dry ball?
Didn't like rain.
Wait until the next one.
Wait until this next month.
40%.
Especially the water one.
Alright.
We definitely lost some water this month.
Anybody have any?
We did the water for this month, the water went up. The water, the loss of the water, what happened there?
Some water main breaks.
Okay.
Flushing and water breaks.
That one was big. This last one wasn't as big, but.
Yeah, Cross Street was pretty.
Hopefully that's the last one, because that's now 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's number 7.
Already built the street?
There's
No, you gotta
3
do-
right in front of Anna.
Gotta do South Main yet. There.
3,
Yeah, there's
4,
been-
5, 6, 7, that's 7.
Clay down to the church.
The water
So
main breaks out
it's
right now.
just, it's all high.
We'll talk
maxes.
So,
It's fine.
all right.
Bands and high maxes.
Anything else on that? Otherwise, review totals of delinquent customers.
16 disconnects, all back out.
From now on, the delinquent numbers go up. All right. Moving on, reports of officials, utility accountant.
In your package you have the 2025 budget. There were a few changes made to it. We had, the one that I had emailed to you, the update of the facility plan for the disinfection requirements that I had put under water instead of sewer column. So that changes the, cash summary on the back page. But sewer's a little bit more money. We also had adjusted the final effluent sampler and, that is coming out of the DNR replacement fund. But Alex had found a cheaper way to take care of that, so we're figuring about $5,000 now instead of about $12,500. Otherwise, I also added for the pickup truck, I also added lights and upgrades, that might be needed. Because I didn't know how the truck was ordered, I think it's just kind of a basic model, and we have to add the utility lights and stuff, so that I put on that also. Or split that between water and sewer. I think those were the only changes that have been made.
Where does fuel come out of?
Fuel
for the
is under
trucks?
transportation. That's gonna be on should be a highlighted section called transportation. We have gas and oil is $3,000.
I missed it.
That's just for water. Each one of them has their own. They each have $3,000. Anybody else have any questions? We will discuss
I'd like to make a motion to amend the budget to account for the cost of living increase to be the same as the cities for the employees. How do we come back with two different cost of livings for the same, for the employees? So got a motion to amend the budget to account for 3% cost of living for the wages.
budget had been originally calculated at 3.5%.
This budget that we're looking at?
Yes.
More or less, it doesn't need to be amended.
Right. Because we just need to approve that it would be 3%, so too.
Action item.
I know the budget's kind of cumbersome, if anybody needs any explanations on basically the summary page is probably the most important one. Yeah. In the center, we did accommodate for the sewer, clean water fund loans that are coming up for principal payments are gonna start, and interest on the go bonds. That's all that's been included. And then I did update the bottom of that page for all the funds on hand. The cash for the LGIP prime account for the sewer of $715,000, that doesn't have the latest payment that just was made, that's gonna be about $85,000 out of there. To make the payments for the lowest price here.
What is the value of what the sewer owes the water?
The sewer owes, the sewer will be done paying electric by the end of the year, in December. And the sewer owes water, I wanna say it's $500,000. of taking all the payments on that to pay back water instead of electric. I wanna say it was 515, but don't quote me on that.
So what is your pleasure? I will make a motion to approve the budget, the 2025 budget with a 3% cost of living increase.
Mr. Chairman, your motion dies for a lack of a second.
Well, somebody's gotta speak up or we'll be here a long time.
There's no second, what do you do?
Dies for lack of a second. Motion does. Motion is dies for lack of a second. So what is your pleasure?
Well, I'll make a motion that we approve the budget.
As it sits?
As it sits, we, without any change in our previous decision.
This budget is, as it stands right now, is at 3.5%
Well,
cost of living.
we've already voted for a 2% cost of living a couple meetings ago,
Correct.
correct? So you're saying we can't approve this budget as it's
And as it presented, it has a 3.5% cost of living increase in it.
And why is that? Why, when we voted a couple meetings ago to have a 2%, why is it say 3.5% still?
I didn't change it, so that's my problem and my fault.
It's just extra money sitting there not getting spent.
this actually does go back when Alice was accountant. The proposed budget was always higher than the actual cost of living increase. Calculating the budget, I remember when Alice was doing it, I don't know if you guys remember, but typically she would present the budget with a 5%, 3 to 5% cost of living, and the budget was always finalized with whatever was decided. So even though it's 3.5, it can still be passed with whatever cost of living.
Your motion should include the cost of living that was decided upon.
We already decided it.
I know, but you should put that in
Okay,
verbally.
with our previous, I will move that we, pass this budget with our previously approved rate of cost of living. Rates.
2%.
2% motion plus.
That way it's on record.
Okay. Is there a second? We have a motion and a second to approve the budget with a 2% cost of living increase. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye. Vote is 3 to 2, motion is carried.
The next thing on the agenda is to discuss and approve, possibly approve community contributions. I gave you guys a handout to show you where we stand right now, and on the far right is the contributions we made in 2023 under the community contributions. I don't know if we had any for economic development except for something with the Christmas lights, but I didn't have that information handy when I did this. So we have the crosswalk signal that we did the electrical on, that was donated for $1,379 under the economic development. So we have $621 left there that's available. And under the community contributions, we did the welcome sign electrical, that was about $850 that we donated for time. Last year we had done lighting for the rec department, that was $1,477, and we contributed $1,000 to Shop with Cops. Show you what we've done for ideas. I left the Dodge County Food Pantry on there, we haven't donated to them since 2022, if you're still interested in doing that. And I think the Shop with Cops program, you guys have all been very supportive of that program. So I would assume you'd want to at least do something to that one. We have $2,150 to spend for community contributions. So if you have any ideas of what you might want to do, and this doesn't necessarily have to be decided tonight, but we do have to spend the money by the end of the year to do this year's budget, or this year's WPPI's offerings.
Can those contributions be overlapped to each other or no? I don't remember. Dan, do you recall?
What are you talking about?
Like, so there's 2150 left in community, can that go overlap to economic development or vice versa?
Can they be combined?
Yeah, can I
Yeah.
mean, you can move.
Yeah, if they're for the right use. If it's something that fits both categories. You're pretty well using the chamber or the EDC for conduit for both of those.
Right. I just started streets if that does get pulled through. But that might be something that we hold off on then, on what we donate. That's gonna be.
Yeah,
a
we
big-
can do
Because
it
it won't
before
be
the
till
end of the
next
year.
year.
What are you thinking of doing it?
If that gathering plaza does go through, what's being requested is power to that gathering plaza for the East Oak project.
Mhm.
And the work that would need to be done is, there's discussion that possibly there's gonna be a streetlight there, as well as, like stage power for
I was at-
whatever. So it'd be figuring out what those costs would be.
Would
and
this
then-
have to be done before the end of the?
No.
No,
No.
just my cost estimate would have to be done, we can contribute it to that, but yeah.
And we'll have the same contribution allowance next year, I would assume, so we can always put it into next year's
Yeah, you
program,
could double,
but we
you
have
could double
money this
down
year
on
to
it.
spend.
You'd be able to earmark this stuff and then next year's for it too. because That'd be a way of funding it without taking it out of the city's budget.
Yeah, I'm not
That's
sure,
all our
we
money.
can't,
Out of curiosity, the lights on the ball diamond, what is the cost gonna be for that?
I got, you bring that up in my.
I was thinking that too, taking them down, I
Taking
think
them
that would
down.
be a good thing to, I don't know, I'm sure the bottom one, that, we can use the bottom one for that, I don't know about the top, but the bottom one for sure, that would be a good place to.
I
Yeah.
don't think either doing demo work on taking down old lights would not fit the criteria for either one of those guys.
It's a shame, because, I mean, if it,
It's gonna be a huge cost savings, I'll discuss it though in my project update.
as far as putting in money for the gathering plaza, if it's not happening until next year, I won't be able to submit anything this year to WPPI against this allowance,
Where's your deadline?
December 31st.
31st, okay.
December 15th, I think, actually.
Well, what is your pleasure?
Next
Well,
one.
Unless you wanna do something for Shop with Cops or anything else, we can
Shop with
decide
Cops
that.
would come,
We usually do that in December, so they have it for Christmas.
I would say let's wait till next month.
yeah. Is that a consensus from everybody? Wait until next month, or?
We have more cost estimates ready and look at the lights a little differently.
Okay. Moving on. Transient surcharges,
Census surcharges, you have a spreadsheet for that on a page. It was asked of me to provide you some information as far as making sure census revenues for surcharges that we charge them are covering the expenses. And, on the top section, you have the revenues by month of what we've charged them through October. And when we did have extreme surges, we do have a column for the additional charges for that. We charged them $32,983 this year so far for extreme surges. Total that we've charged is $140,983. And the expenditures down in the middle, we based that on average monthly surges, not the extremes. But I guess that was before I changed the way that I calculated this spreadsheet. So these are the actual expenditures we've had, which do include any hauling or chemicals that we needed to cover the extreme surge. So, chemicals are based on, the readings that Alex has a meter that shows how much chemicals we've used per month, and we get charged $12.02 per gallon. So that's $41,928 that's cost us so far this year. And the sludge hauling are the actual loads that we've had hauled, for a total of $105,038. There's not a charge in the sludge hauling for October because that was part of the, treatment plant. So there wasn't any invoice for that, that was something done, basically Staub paid for that this time. So total costs, January through October is $146,966. And that does not include the monthly service fee that we charge them, so at the bottom, that little box gives us the summary of the 10 months of the monthly base rate that we charge them is $189,310. The surge penalty revenue is $140,983, and our sludge hauling and chemical costs are $146,966. So we have benefited $183,327 so far.
This
So-
is money received?
Yes. So we are well above our expenses for what we're charging.
And that was with the assumption that the chemical and hauling costs were 100% correlated to Sensing.
Correct. This
So-
is Sensient paying for all of our chemical and hauling, not just Sensient's portion, because we don't have, this is
Way
the
of dividing that.
best estimate that we can come up with.
How often are they billed, Gary?
Pardon?
How often are they billed?
Every month.
Every month?
Mhm.
They've always been responsive.
Yep, they pay within a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Good.
Does anybody have any questions on that?
It's better than I thought originally.
Yeah. Well, and it's like Alex and I were talking today and said, you know, we can tell you guys, yeah, we're doing fine, but, you know, this really shows, yes, we're doing very fine.
At what point though does this become too excessive as far as our largest contributor? I mean, I'm speaking on behalf of electric alone, but our
Right.
largest customer, where, I mean, from my understanding, they had a meeting, right, to discuss these expenses being,
It was considered, we figured, what was it, springtime after the project's over, to reconsider our surge language and rates.
Alex and I did discuss the additional charges for the extreme surges. We feel that we don't need to do that because
More than covering,
we're more than covering the cost.
so we'll stop doing those.
Yeah, my concern is then are they gonna abuse that?
But, yeah.
That's why,
Where
I don't think we
wouldn't-
wanna get rid of that
I
until.
wouldn't remove the language.
Yeah,
I
I
would
think.
just say wait for the time when it's really, really necessary.
Yeah.
And the other thing
Discretion
is let's get this in the new plant for a year or two and before we
See
and
how
see where things go
operations-
before we make any, I would say we wait a year or two before we make any decisions like that, until we know how the new one operates.
And I think they were, in that meeting, I think that they were understanding of the charges that we've been doing, and that's the program that Baker Tilly had set forth for us to follow, which they agreed upon originally. So,
The only hurdle we may run into is that they were very understanding, and I'll preface that with Dean was very understanding.
mhm.
He's no longer the person in charge there, so we might run into a whole different animal when the next guy calls for a meeting. So,
They don't stay long. Barry?
So I think waiting a year before you change anything is a really good remark. I don't know what the service agreement looks like, but you get into these places or issues where all of a sudden you might have a permit violation, they send so much. Make sure you're covered. So that can cost a lot of money to take care of too, with the DNR.
Yeah.
I mean, we wanna make sure, I mean, the citizens have been covering a lot of the expenses
Right.
to begin with, and now Cincinnati's finally
finally
manning
catching
up.
up.
I mean,
Meanwhile,
they
it feels,
should be.
it may feel good, you're ahead, but you wanna be cautious, you're not too far ahead, but you also gotta make sure you have enough to protect yourself.
And we were behind for like 5 years, so.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you don't wanna abandon your fail-safe system here. 'cause-
No, at no point, I don't think that would be the plan. I think at some point, they're gonna wanna sit down
Once,
and
I
talk
mean,
about
once the
it.
plant's up and operating,
And that
and
can-
it's been turned completely over to us,
Right.
then it's at least a year after that until we see how this thing works.
And that can be the decision made at that time.
Right.
I'm just letting you know, they're gonna probably wanna come to a meeting and talk about it.
Well, they're more than welcome to.
So that's.
I don't have a problem with that. They have a bad, I mean, they got a bad track record with the utility. And until they show that they don't have a bad track record with the utility, i.e. these numbers here, these total penalties that we charged them go to zero, they don't have a good track
Very
record.
nice, yeah.
That's my opinion, is they do not have a good track record until these numbers go to zero for a whole year. And then maybe we'll think about cutting them some slack. But the thing is, if they did what they were supposed to do, they wouldn't pay any
They won't
penalties.
get any penalties, correct.
And that's the issue. I said if they did what they were supposed to do, then there would be no penalties. And they know the rules.
That's why they
So,
pre-treat.
Until they
That's why it's-
understand the rules and quit sending us stuff, that's, my opinion is we don't cut them any slack. Cause they agreed to the rules. And changing them doesn't benefit us any.
Just cause you whine, yeah.
Right.
Changing the
Right.
rules does not benefit us at all.
That's what got us into the deficit that
In
we
the
had
first
going
place.
for so many years.
Right.
So
Right.
be kind to them.
As long as you're executing the penalty fairly, and it's upfront with both parties, I think you're handling it the right way. Just don't remove all that language that you'd have to try and backpedal to get
Right,
back
then
later on,
trying to
you know.
run it again.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
Besides, we just tracked it, this is the first tracking, so.
Give
you
it
know, give
some more
it-
time.
Yeah, we got to let have time to see how that all,
And I wonder if there's a way that
No.
we can go back to like 2021 and 22,
I mean,
to see about costs of what we were actually losing back then.
we
just
certainly
to
have the
justify.
data. I mean, we have all the lab results, all the hauling costs.
And we've got what we charge.
Should have.
So we
capital
can-
costs. We certainly can.
On a rainy day after audit.
Yeah. 2 years from now.
Without them as a customer, we would be terribly overbilled out there.
So I don't know, that's, I think all that I had as far as, my stuff.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Lori? If not, we'll move on. Nick?
Alright, so, as you guys know, Sunset View is up and running. We did now just test out their solars, the anti-aliasing test. All of them did pass. We ended up finding some failures on their end where they had CTs wired backwards where it wasn't calling for power to go back onto the system, which didn't benefit us at all, but it benefited them. But it is what it is. So 30 of the units have the solar, and now just sent in an application for their streetlight service to have solar as well. So all 31 services that are provided to Sunset View will have solar. So we just have one more to check. The application just came through for the streetlights, so it'll take probably a few weeks before that's going on the streetlight side. The wastewater treatment plant transformer has returned. I spoke to Greg and Gustav and Ethan from Peeper Power. Is scheduled for Thursday at 10 o'clock this week to replace that out. I don't anticipate it taking long. The only lengthy portion of it will be Peeper Power get rid of they had to make up some temporary connections to lengthen the secondary side of the transformer to put the old one back in service, so they'll just have to remove that to wire up the new transformer. Cooper Power, Ethan thought it was gonna be 45 minutes on their end, so it's probably gonna be an hour and a half, 2 hours total. So yeah, generator power, which that's shown to be good to have an adequate generator to run that whole facility, so works out good. Public power went well on the October 9th with St. John's and Dodgeland. Especially with, what's nice with the demonstration we give, especially with St. John's, we have the young kids and we get them every year until they're third grade, right? Fourth grade. And they're learning. When you're asking them questions, they know, like, you know, electricity's always trying to find a path to ground. Kids were saying that, you know, why can a bird go on a power line and not get hurt? You know, they say it's because they're not touching anything that's in the ground or at the same potential, or using big words, and it's like, all right.
This is the thank you we got today from St. John's. They all signed their names.
So, it's always nice to see, Dodge and obviously you don't get the same benefit, it's just one grade and they're done, you don't get to have them a couple years in a row, so. But that's always rewarding to do. We're doing some pole changeouts on the Goose Trail, we did 3, then the rain hit, so we're now, we're in the low spot along the Goose Trail, we bury our trucks if we even attempt to go in there. There's nothing that's real emergency that need to be replaced, it's just, we test these poles, they're beyond their life, they're starting to deteriorate, cracked cross arms, so, intending on doing 6 more before the end of the year, that's the goal. GIS mapping, we did all the mapping up at Sunset View, taught Dylan and Nick how to do that, they did well with that. So that's all on our map. I did meet with WPPI on the meter locations at Sunset View. Although the hill is steep with the landscaping rock platforms that they did put up there, it does meet the requirements that are needed. So we are kind of in a rock and a hard place with the rocks that they put up there as far as what they have being to code. So as far as the utility stance, there's nothing we can do as far as the slopes that they have there. So I don't know what direction you guys want me to go any further, but to me that seems like all we can do at this point. We discussed a little bit about the Gathering Plaza possibly going through. It seems like the most feasible option for supplying that on-site power for the occasional events would be to get a dry type transformer. Dan did a little research on that and pulling directly out of the county facility transformer. The county facility transformer, the Edmond building, is metered at the transformer, which means that whatever you pull out of that transformer is being metered to the county administration building. So discussions will have to be made with county. I mean, they're not even gonna see this usage on their bill because what their bill is, you know, is pretty high being a full administration building. If it gets used even 6 times, they're not gonna see a noticeable change on their bill at all. So if they agree with covering the meter costs to supply power to the facility, it's gonna be $1,200 for the dry type transformer plus wire and pipe that I haven't figured out yet because I don't know the exact location. I'm just gonna give a ballpark of where I think that service may be, and we'll go from there. If it continue, if we decide that plaza is gonna go through, then we can proceed with those costs. But it's gonna be pretty minimal material on our end outside of that dry type transformer. So I guess that was just to keep you guys informed. It would actually be higher costs for the street light to get over there because although that road should be cut open, it should be able to just open trench across the road where it did the road project. So either way, it should be pretty minimal outside of the dry top transformer.
What kind of street light were you thinking?
I never even thought about that. I'm assuming with that plaza, it'd be a lot more of a short decorative light, it'd be like a 15-footer, I would assume, for like they call them the Chinaman style hats, but it would be a new LED, more
Like the ones on our street, kind of that high?
Yep. Have like they call them colonial style, lights is kind of what I envisioned there, but that's kind of the thought process. But it would be getting the pipe from Rolling Stones, transformer, that's outside of that road project scope. It would be a boring expense, and if that is, that would be where the cost would drive up. But I think we're gonna be right on that, where that cut line is gonna be on Miller Street there, so we might be okay. The Eddie Joss Field, I did speak to Staub. They are not interested in coming over to do the job. And so I did some more research, and to me, my crew can do it if we rent I tried measuring, there's no pole tags on those poles, but I believe there's 80 feet above ground, 85 feet. So if we rented a man basket with jib from Sunbelt, it would be $2,000 with delivery and pickup a day. I believe I can get it done in a day, so it'd be $2,000. It might take 2 days max. But if everything goes good, I think it's only gonna take us a day, 8 hours, $2,000 for delivery and pickup, plus our labor, obviously. So, to me, that seems like a really feasible option instead of that 15,000 that Heber gave. And we just piece it down. We cut the light fixtures off one by one, just to stay below the man basket capacity, jib capacity, with not knowing what that whole structure would weigh at one time. But if I know if I cut one fixture off at a time, I'm well underneath that weight capacity of that basket. So that would be the option to present to the rec committee.
Are you gonna put your labor together and everything else? And
Right.
what's
So-
your equipment cost for your bucket? I thought you'd just choke them and then you'd cut them, top them with your other
If we-
bucket truck and then hoist them down. You'd be done in a half a day
Right.
getting the big chunks down, sitting on the field to disassemble them, so you
We
weren't.
did take the digger derrick up there to see how far we can reach, and I don't think we're gonna be top heavy enough. I think that whole pole's the weight is gonna be heavier at the top of those fixtures where I can't choke it like that.
No, I mean with this rental, with the rental unit, that you choke it.
The jib capacity on that is 600 pounds. So I'm really concerned with, obviously I can dictate what the first one's gonna be like. I'll piece that down so I can judge what weight it is, but I don't think it's gonna take long. I think I can get it done in a day. But either way, $2,000 or $4,000 is
Sure.
still huge cost saving compared to that 15,000 you were originally thinking. I'll probably just give a worst case. I'll probably do a 2-day. It's probably gonna be like 10 hours or. But
Do you know anybody that works with spikes? Just climb the pole?
I'm not.
You're not
You
doing
don't wanna
that?
climb,
No,
those
you don't
poles
wanna
are too
climb those
dangerous to be
poles.
climbing.
You don't wanna climb those poles.
I'm
Cheaper.
guessing when I changed,
You can come, I'll give you my hooks, you can go on there.
when I changed ballast that time, I'm guessing you probably got 50 pounds in a ballast up there, and the rest of the fixture isn't much, whatever. So, worst case scenario, 75 pounds of light, and I think there's as many as 6 lights up there. Or is
Yeah,
there
I was
more?
thinking 300 pounds at the top,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
and then we'd be able to piece, we'll just do 10-foot sections until I get down low enough where the digger derrick, and we're just gonna move on to the next one and just
Right.
get everything to the height that our trucks can take care of it. We'll get that rental unit out of here, so, I would book it for 2 days and then just call them that it was done in 1 day. So that's the plan, we'll present that to the rec committee. On October 17th, we had an outage, you guys probably saw it if you're on Facebook. We had we call them significant outage. We had 2 underground faults on a 3-phase underground, right by Lamers there. We have these things called fault indicators that clamp around our underground wire that will flash red if they have seen a fault. That's how we can quickly decipher where that fault occurred. And and ended up faulting in a good place. Not fault is good, but ended up faulting between the riser and the junction, the first junction, so we were able to feed, that whole section from a different direction and get everybody running in about 2 hours. Approximately 58 customers were affected by, the outage, and, the wire was open concentric. You guys have heard me say in the past, it's neutrals on the outside. It was in pipe, we were able to pull the wire out, and there was no neutral left on 2 of those phases. And what's nice about our substations, we have, recloser controls in our substation that tell us amperage readings on each phase that's going out in those circuits. And since I've been here, that center circuit at the industrial substation, which feeds this, has always read high on the neutral amperage reading. It was given 135 amps, and the other 2 circuits are like 60, low 50s. And to me, that told me that there was something possibly wrong, but we always chalked it up as a single phase imbalance, that there was more residential load on one phase, and not equally balanced between the 3 phases, which if you do that, you will have an imbalance and your neutral will have a higher ampacity reading. But now with this fault, I'm thinking that it was because 2 of the phases had bad neutrals, and it was carrying on the one phase and had a neutral imbalance, which caused high ampacity reading. The only way my theory will be verified is once we hook this back up. So we basically have everything done. There was a transformer near there that we had to pull the elbow off to redirect how the power was sent to that residential area that was burnt up. The bushing was bad in the transformer. We're replacing that Wednesday, and then Thursday we will be fed our normal way for that area. So after Thursday, I'll be able to see if that was what was causing our imbalance and high ampacity reading on the neutral. But it just shows that this new cable is a must to get in the ground, and we have been doing that. We've been replacing that old concentric cable as we go. There's enough out of it out there yet that we'll continue to replace as we go. We changed out a pole in the backyards on Fair Street. That is to get us ready to go for when we're finalizing Fair Street conversion. So we just replaced that pole. Dylan and Jim Runge attended WPPI orientation. They both gained a lot of knowledge that they didn't know about WPPI. Jim knew quite a bit of information already, but it just kind of verified what services we are being provided by WPPI, and it's always a good, demonstration. Obviously, Bart, you went to it too. Just nice information to have. Cooks are in town right now, putting in the last of the pipe along Fair Street. The final stage of Fair Street conversion will be taking place next year, and that was to, we didn't have money in the budget to finalize the project, so next year, the spring before East Oak project takes place, that'll be finalized. Nick and Dylan both went to their second week of school, and they were back-to-back weeks. A lamp recycling pickup. We offer lamp recycling, battery recycling, computer monitor. It's honestly it's a pain in the butt, but we provide that service, and we did a big pickup today or on Monday. Yeah,
Are we charging for that?
we are. ATC update. As you guys know, I've been having a hard time dealing with them with their Y134 line that they're proposing to redo and needing us to be off their poles. I did get an email that the board of directors approved us going forward, and they're like, yeah, you can proceed with purchase of power, and I'm like, I'm not, or purchasing material, and it's like, I'm not doing anything until I get some kind of formal documentation of reimbursement. And And they're like, okay, we'll get back to you on that, and, that's where I'm at right now, so I'm waiting for formal documentation before I can proceed with that. And Sensient, asked if we would be willing to remove, part of a tree in their, treatment facility. I told them no, because we did go there during an outage 6 months ago. I tree trimmed as much branches as I could reach with the bucket truck already. They are primary metered, that is not our facilities. I told them as much as we could do would kill the power to that one circuit that feeds their transformer, their treatment facility, to allow the tree trimming company of their choice, to safely remove that tree. And they said they would be working on coordination. I haven't heard back from that as well. That's what I got.
Right, does anybody have any questions for Nick? If not, Alex.
Well, we'll start with, first thing I had on here was the South Main Street. As we alluded to at the last meeting, we had some services that we weren't certain about their material makeup. And lo and behold, we did find some lead in that investigation. So we found the 4 houses on South Main Street between Oak Grove Street and South Street on the west side did still have lead. I'm not certain on Quick Trip, I'm assuming that was built later, so it probably was added on. It wasn't lead?
Yeah, because there was a main that was brought down when 26 was done, basically just to a Quick Trip's edge of their building there, yeah. So they should be in service there.
They built a store behind the store.
Because there's a 10-inch main coming down South Street, a little portion away, just not far, but just to basically Quick Trip.
On the east side of the road?
You know, like couples on to, there is a little 45 in there.
So, we are gonna have to get rid of those services. We have a couple of options. Basically, we can do the same thing we did with Oak Street. We are at an opportune time, but we need to know during this meeting if we want to add it to the bid spec for downtown Oak Street project, to add these 4 service laterals to the public side only, add their replacement to that project. Or the other option is we can just privately hire a company to replace them. Pricing on each, I did get an estimate from Jason at all. If you think that they're apples to apples, we paid roughly $12,000 per service on the last bid out project, which would bring these 4 to a total of $49,600. The bid I got from Town and Country today, with a couple assumptions for concrete asphalt, would be roughly 32,000. So we could do it, I would think we could do it cheaper ourselves, but we'd have to pay for it in cash. So I don't know if we'd prefer, I believe if we add it, they already sent in the paperwork to the DNR if we wanted to add it to the loan package we're taking for, the Oak Street project with the water department. So we could take it through loan funds, but we would have to do that and decide to add it to the bid packet today. If we want that to still be included in that project.
We also took that borrowing, right? The city,
Yes.
Yes.
that borrowing.
Yeah,
That's-
there's no grant money for this last block of East Oak Street, it's all borrowed funds. But I guess what was talked about at those,
Must be a shut off.
at the pre-construction meeting was
how much clay and how much old main do we have in there? If we're gonna open up the street in 4 locations, maybe we ought to be doing the main too at the same time.
The main wasn't replaced?
No, we found that out, I think Dave probably alluded to it there, and I didn't remember that we didn't do that one block. We were just talking about how we had all the underground facilities updated now, but here now this block of, this 100 block of South Main, or 200 block of South Main came out to haunt us here, but talking at the meeting there, what's the condition of the water main and the sewer? They're all, if you're gonna open up 4 different
Realistically-
locations to replace laterals, we may as well do the whole damn thing, you know?
Realistically, the whole block should be done.
Yeah.
But
I know it's money we don't have around, sitting around this table, but I mean, it's almost redundant to do all that spot work.
just to come back and dig it up again.
Yeah.
You
got a larger stub by Quick Trip,
And that was also the issue.
So,
26.
We don't have to get into the 26 intersection, which is a good thing. We can isolate just that one block for construction.
You got a what, 8-inch stub, 8-inch pipe stub on South Street,
No.
I think that's what I heard.
Is Strauss's house fed off, the one on the corner, is that fed off of Main Street, right across from Quick Trip?
all 4 houses there, yeah.
All 4 houses, that's what I was asking. I wasn't sure where Strauss's house got fed from.
Do you remember what the estimated costs were that law presented for East Oak for you? For water and sewer?
No.
I think it was, wasn't 300 something?
Yep.
So what, this 200 block, that's gotta be, I mean, would the utility then pay for the asphalt and?
Well, yeah, that's kind of when that was brought up, I thought, well, I don't know what the,
You're paying for curb and sidewalk, maybe?
yeah, damn. I don't wanna
The
commit.
worst part is the main is on that side of the road, so it's
Yeah.
a short dig.
So you could get by with just the parking lane? But you still got clay sewer beyond the
Yeah, you
intersection
still
of South Main?
Yeah.
Of South Street though?
Yeah,
To it or beyond it?
beyond it. It goes all the way to St. John's when we talked about St.
Yeah.
John's.
I didn't know if we had a, for sure or not.
Well, I guess it's, on the map it says visually verified, so.
I'd have to look at the
Would
blueprint.
it need a camera from South Street down and say, well, maybe at a later date we can do that if it's not busted or cracked real bad? You know,
Yeah, I mean,
That wouldn't be hard to do, I might have done that already.
because there's a manhole just south of South Street, so you'd go to that manhole, I would assume, and then eventually you would do the next section, right? I don't know.
I mean, it could be more at a financially planned date.
Right.
Longer length, just do this chunk in the middle there that you have to do.
Or do you just do the laterals and then
Just
just
do the
whole
laterals
road
and then
down
do
to
the
St.
whole
John's when that time
Do
comes?
the whole street at once, do it right then.
I guess with the money being tight, that maybe be the best option.
How much curb and gutter you think you're gonna lose there? That'd be a location where they gotta dig.
I think I figured on 3 blocks of sidewalk and then 12 feet of curb for each one.
Yeah, you bring an independent contractor like Town and Country in to do it, when they're done, you pay them.
We figured they'd be done in 2 days.
Yeah. And that's-
I think you just gotta do the laterals now.
Well, we did stipulate that we would make sure that the blacktop was included in the contract to be able to patch that. What
So
you
you,
gonna-
you
with
should
the-
probably just do the concrete work too then, whoever contract.
Could be doing that too. It'd be utilities dime, but at least you wouldn't have to try and fight them to get in there to do a patch.
Cause we got it handed
Well-
to us when that blacktop, I mean, that was.
With this bid, with the Town and Country number, I assumed $8,000 for asphalt. which is for what it is kind of a lot, but.
So this would be putting PVC drain line out from the basements as well?
This would be water
No,
source.
this is
Just water only?
I'm sure all them houses still got
Sure, there's
cast
water
or
coming from there.
clay. Yeah, that's a tough call right now. Nice to have it incorporated in the contract where you don't have to worry about it
Well,
whenever it
it'd be
just
nice
gets
if it was in
done.
the project, then I kind of wash my hands of it.
Yeah.
It's done when it's done, but.
If you're talking about saving yourself $10,000-12,000, that pays for the road restoration. But we would definitely have it, we kinda directed Jason that the verbiage of the contract would be, whoever gets the job, the asphalting would include some off-site
Would have to be
patchwork.
done at the same
Right.
time.
They wanna inflate the hell out of it, I guess they're gonna inflate the heck out of it, but it's not like we're making them go across town or anything, they can drive the equipment from A to B, you know, they put the binder coat down.
So it's saying whether or not this work was done with the contract or not, we would
Right.
assume that Northeast would be doing it as a part of the
Yeah.
main plan.
I mean, can't you just include it in the bid and then just have a change order and delete it if we find that it's too high?
Could do
Because
that
then
too.
that locks you in
Yeah,
for
you might
replacing
be
it then.
surprised on what costs it might come in per unit otherwise.
Right, cause that would or satisfy the lead replacement if it's in the bid.
Biggest thing is I just gotta have something on the books saying it's on its way out, so.
And those are the only ones you got left now?
It's the only ones that I found. So I do have 2 unknowns I had to submit, just cause circumstantial, I wasn't able to, I got 1 water meter that I had to change. That, once we're in the house, we'll know what it is. And then you would have a little bit more knowledge, Mike Bow's old house, across from the well house. What the public side is on that road, 'cause I don't have any blueprints for that
Public
street
side.
ever being done, that lateral being done.
For us? South Street?
I don't think they were ever done by the well, South, part of South Street we did.
Right.
But we did it from.
So I'm running into some of these, so that's the last one that I didn't verify, and I gotta get maybe City of Mayville out to back that out. But we didn't have time to do that when they were here. The other guy-
Past Western? Didn't you go past Fairfield?
No, I don't think you did, I think we,
I don't think there was ever, I think when that house was built, it had all water service brought in from the main. Cause I don't think there was a lateral stub, then that house was built in the late 60s. I remember right, mid-late 60s when Sealinger built that thing. So that vintage might tell you that it's probably copper all the way from the main. Because I don't think there was ever a lateral stubbed in there. You know, because I don't know if they ever had any intentions, you know, until he acquired the land. That was all part of the Hickey farm and the back lot of the Hickey house that sits on the east side of it, whatever. So I'd almost be willing to bet that service would probably put in the main, from the main all the way in.
So then.
So you might be lucky on that one.
I don't have any record on it, so I'm hoping we'll go investigate and hope it's copper, and then we can
Yeah.
check it off of our list, and then I got records on pretty much everything else, so.
How deep is that main there in front of on South Street? That was a hell of a dig to get it all the way up into that house.
I would think it's, we didn't work there, it's crazy deep, it's like,
Service?
well, the main, isn't that main like,
See, I don't remember that main being deep. But, I could be wrong. Anyway, so that's the last one that I gotta verify on our side,
Might be lucky
if
if
it's
it's,
copper or lead. But otherwise, we got the 4 houses that I'm concerned about on South Main Street, what we wanna do with that.
wasn't there just farm buildings and stuff back there? Yeah, Highway 26 used to be South Street, it
Right.
hooked around there, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably what it is, the house in the back there.
I'm thinking, but I can't.
I don't
Our
remember.
buildings? Well, I tell you, I don't remember any buildings there.
Well, it had to be one time, but.
Yeah, but they were,
Oh, I would, know that.
Yeah, I used to come into town and stop right in front of Grandma's garage.
So do we need to make a motion on something, or?
no,
Yeah.
somebody, let's,
So these 4 homes, did they get billed for that work then?
No,
No, this is just on the
this is the
side.
public side.
The public side.
So,
And all of them are good inside on the private side?
and we backed out the private side too, they were all 3/4 copper, so.
Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah. So ultimately, if you wanna try to add it to the.
I would add it to the bid document and, see what the line item is with the opportunity to delete it. But certainly make sure that if you're talking to Jason, that the blacktop recovery or restoration is included with the East Oak Street, so you don't get dinged so hard on that.
Well, I'll make a motion to that effect.
I got it written down, it's okay.
all right, we have a motion, is there a second?
Ask her to read it back.
We're gonna put it in the bid for the Oak Street and reject the line item if it's too high, and to make sure that the blacktop is included in the project, no matter which way we decide to repair.
Okay.
Oh, do you wanna include the curb and
So
gutter
there.
too?
I would just do hard
I would-
surfaces.
Yeah. we would
Just
wanna
say
do
it,
that.
change it to hard surfaces.
Yep,
Just add
blacktop and hard.
So we did glass.
Okay.
Okay,
Hard surfaces?
Yeah, so it includes concrete and blacktop.
we have a motion by Bart and second by Ross to complete that motion.
Cause we do know generally what it would cost.
Is
to do
there
that now.
any more discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Beyond that, we, and I forgot to mention this at the last meeting, we did receive, I'll say I received a notice of non-compliance for the water system because I forgot to hand out the lead and copper, the lead in drinking water pamphlets to the places that it needed to be on time last year.
We put it in the,
It's
as a
in,
bill
it's in the
and circle,
billing,
we have to put
yeah, it's
out
in
in
there
public also.
twice a year, but then I also have to hand it out to 10 different places throughout town, all of which still had pamphlets from last year, but because I forgot to do it until the day that I had to submit that I did it, they still gave me a lovely letter stating that I screwed up, so no action was required. I figured it was my diligence to tell you guys. Yeah.
Okay.
Liz and Nicholas completed hydrant flushing first 2 weeks of October. As we talked about, we hydro excavated 18 laterals with Poseidon hydro excavation. This confirmed the different areas in town that I was concerned about with our service lateral inventory. That was an overall cost of $2,045. With those being done, we were able to submit our service line inventory to the EPA in time. We found the 4 public side lead laterals that we just talked about. I did submit the 1 private side lead lateral that we know about on North Main Street that we're working on having the homeowner replace. I did have to submit 1 private side galvanized requiring replacement. The only problem with that is there's no formal rule saying that the galvanized has to be replaced right now, but it's coming. So I can't make the homeowner do anything today, but someday we know about it, the rule will probably change and that line will have to get replaced. I did also submit the 1 private side unknown, that's the one that we talked about, that we're trying to schedule a water meter change out so that we can get an idea what it is, so that shouldn't be for long. And 1 public side unknown, so that was the one on South Street that we talked about, so. Otherwise, we had, everything in town accounted for within this service line inventory. It is publicly available to look at here in the utility office if anybody's interested in what we had put together. On October 24th, Liz and I replaced the curb stop on 368 Victory Street. Homeowner had hit it multiple times with his lawnmower, and it was very bent, but it was sticking up, so it was kind of our fault in the first place. And on October 17th and October 31st, we did have 2 water main breaks on East Cross Street in front of Animix. The first one we replaced, or we wound up putting a 25-inch repair band over it. It wound up being 2 small 2 to 3 inch holes with a crack in the middle, kind of the shape of a dog bone. So we had to do the actual 25-inch repair clamp just to have enough real estate over it to seal it up. The second break I was on vacation for, but Peggy and Liz did a wonderful job taking care of it. They wound up, it was on the section of pipe immediately beneath where Animix's service is connected. So we had to chop out 3 feet of pipe and put in a new corp stop for Animix and repair clamp, or Hymaxes to hold that new pipe in for that repair. I guess one of the bigger things we ran into at the wastewater plant with the upgrade going on is that the roofers have been a joy to work with. They are now instructed to make sure that everything's sealed up at the end of each workday. But throughout the process, we ran into numerous days. Basically, every time we had heavy rain, we still had roof leaks. So they're, knock on wood, with the rain we had today and yesterday, it's been dry, but we're in the middle of it really, so we'll just pray for it to be dry so they can finish sooner than later. Otherwise, like Sherry had mentioned, the new ditch has been running very effectively. We've been working on tweaking it here and there, working with the design engineers as well as to how to make settings, and where to run everything at. So far, the effluent quality leaving the wastewater plant has been impressive. We haven't had any issues, and everything has been working really well.
Same as before with the old one, or better than the old one, or?
Basically, the numbers are as good or better than they were. Yeah.
And you're
it's-
still running on 1 package plan, so.
Yeah, we have half the clarifier capacity that we should, so.
Easier to make adjustments with this system compared to the old?
Easier in the fact that we have the ability to make adjustments. The old system was, just let it go. If it works, it works. You know, we didn't have much adjustability at all before, so now we have a lot of different parameters to work with,
And things are still being worked on.
Yeah, and
Finalized and
there's a
building the SCADA system.
fair amount of integration with the computer system that we still need to get ironed out. So we're kinda, it's an elementary form of what the final control system is gonna look like, but overall, it's been producing a very nice product. Separate from that, we've received now a few qualified applicants and hope to be in interviews soon for our open position. Other than that, that's all I have.
All right, does anybody have any questions for Alex?
I do. When you do flushing around in town, is that why a person can open their faucet and all of a sudden get a little air spitting out occasionally? I mean, it's not every day, but you get a little air spitting
Air
out?
lines.
Yeah.
And this is like kinda all the time or just an isolated event?
Occasionally I get air spitting out of mine. I had a friend tell me he had it in his, and it's like, I never had, and I was getting a drink and.
So we do, with our iron filters, we do add air to the water in order to oxidize the iron and then remove the iron. What I would believe is that some of that air is bleeding through the filter, because it is supposed to, as the water enters the filter, that air is supposed to oxidize the iron, but then float and get removed through the top of the filter cells. Some of that, I think, bleeds through the system and into the actual distribution system. So I would believe that, that could be where some of those bubbles may accumulate, whether that's in the water heater, water softener, or anything like that. Just the same way that, if you took a glass of water out of your garden hose, you might notice that it's foggy or milky, and then you leave it sit and you watch all the air rise out of it. I would guess that as, if you have something where water's accumulating in your house, maybe that's where that bubble's coming.
I've noticed air in mine on the one faucet that isn't connected to the water softener. And actually, the last time the water softener ran, the next morning, it was spitting, so I'm wondering if my water softener had something to do with that
Right.
line. But I'm
So-
not 100% sure there, but that was just, I don't know if that is a fact of correlation,
Right.
or it just happened to be that time that it just so happened that one
Right.
it just happened to be they happen together, or if one is causing the other, I don't know, but
Right.
that happened to me.
And it could be partially too, and I don't know, you could maybe help me
Yeah, I
out
think you
here,
did a
but
good job with the air, but I don't know that flushing your lines would
I don't think
draw
flushing
back
would-
pressure. You have a backflow preventer on each home, right?
No.
No?
the only thing I can think of too is temperature change. Being cold water holds more air than warm water. So if you have water getting stale, that air will actually come out of the water in the form of a bubble. If it's coming into the house cold, it'll hold X amount of air dissolved in it, whereas it'll come out into an actual bubble as it warms.
How aggressive are we with our flushing program, which is supposed to eliminate our chlorine problem, because the same people are still complaining? They haven't seen any improvement this.
Right. Basically, we did not do the directional flushing this fall, because the directional flushing plan, not only is it very labor intensive, but it only touches, I believe it was 50 hydrants, whereas we need to operate all 160 of our hydrants every other year. So our plan for this was to do directional flushing every spring, and then the balance of hydrants that have not been touched to divide in half, and then flush those every fall.
How's our chlorine sampling at the far end of our system now? Have we got it where it's supposed to be?
The dead ends have been coming up. They've been getting better. That was one thing that I didn't budget for, was an automatic flushing device, because the one dead end that we're still having troubles with is that far north side of town, that long leg,
North Fairfield?
the far north side of North Main, the monument building. So I did budget for a device that is designed to more or less run water, just to keep that main fresh, to bring those numbers up, in hopes that if you run that, waste a little bit of water doing that, maybe we could run the system a little bit lower, just because it's keeping everything fresher. But yeah, all the rest of the dead ends have been coming up and are closer to where we would expect them to be.
Well, isn't that monument building essentially a loop with the hydrant run behind the building and to the highway, out to Highway 26? Just as tailed off of the run that goes by the water tower there?
Yep. Yeah, it runs, actually yeah, you are correct. So that's a pretty long dead end. It's only 6-inch pipe, but it's like 1,000 feet. with very minimal usage.
Yep.
If you could tell them to use a lot of water, that'd be super.
Yeah,
All
just waiting
right.
for that.
Anybody else have any questions for Alex? Okay. President, I have nothing. Mr. Mayor,
I have nothing.
old business. New business. Motion to adjourn by Bart. Second by Dick. Any questions? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion